Every fall, millions of people transform into armchair general managers. They agonize over waiver wires, trash talk their co-workers, and pray their kicker doesn't miss a 38-yarder in overtime. But how did fantasy football go from a backroom hobby to a billion-dollar cultural obsession? This is the story of how a few football nerds in the 60s created a game that now rules office banter, dominates Sunday rituals, and turns ordinary fans into stat-obsessed strategists. Buckle up. This is fantasy football like you've never seen it. It all started in 1962, in a Manhattan hotel room. Wilfred Bill Winkenbach, part owner of the Oakland Raiders, sat down with a sports writer and a PR guy. Their goal? Create a game that let fans draft real NFL players and compete based on their weekly performance. They called it the Greater Oakland Professional Pigskin Prognosticators League, or GOPPPL. It sounds like a rejected government agency, but it was the first ever fantasy football league. Drafts were done in person. Stats were tracked manually from Monday newspapers. Scoring was calculated with pencils, paper, and a whole lot of beer. It was slow, messy, and gloriously nerdy. And yet, it sparked something, a way for fans to feel like they were part of the game. For the next few decades, fantasy football simmered quietly. It spread through word of mouth, mostly among sports writers, bar regulars, and stat geeks. You had to call in your lineup, fax your results, and argue over scoring rules like it was the Magna Carta. Leagues were tight-knit, trash talk was local, and if your running back got injured, you found out 3 days later, after your buddy mailed you the box score. It was a labor of love, a game for people who didn't just watch football, they studied it. Then came the internet, and fantasy football exploded. In the late 90s, sites like Yahoo, CBS Sportsline, and ESPN launched online fantasy platforms. Suddenly, anyone could join a league, draft players from their couch, and get live scoring updates in real time. No more fax machines. No more spreadsheets. Just click, draft, and obsess. By the early 2000s, fantasy football was everywhere. Office leagues, college dorms, family rivalries. It became a weekly ritual. And with the rise of smartphones, it went mobile. You could manage your team from the bathroom. Admit it, you've done it. Fantasy football isn't just fun. It's a business, a big one. Today, the fantasy sports industry is worth over $20 billion. There are podcasts, TV shows, merch drops, and full-time analysts whose job is to help you win your league. And then came daily fantasy sports. FanDuel, DraftKings. Suddenly, fantasy wasn't just about bragging rights. It was about cash, real money, real stakes, real heartbreak when your tight end gets 0 targets. Fantasy football became a hybrid of Wall Street and the NFL. Stats, strategy, and a sprinkle of gambling. Fantasy football has spawned a culture all its own. There are trophies that look like they belong in the Louvre. Punishments for last place that range from humiliating costumes to tattoo bets. And group chats that never sleep, especially when someone starts a trade war. Draft parties have themes. People dress as wizards, gladiators, or NFL legends. There's food, drinks, spreadsheets, and drama. Fantasy football is part strategy, part chaos, and part psychological warfare. It's the only game where you can lose sleep over a backup kicker. So what's next for fantasy football? AI-powered draft assistants, VR draft rooms, fantasy leagues for simulated sports? The future is wild, and it's coming fast. But no matter how high-tech it gets, fantasy football will always be about one thing: connection. It's how fans bond, compete, and scream at their TVs together. It's the most important thing that doesn't actually matter. And that's what makes it magical. Now go set your lineup, and don't forget to bench that guy who's questionable with a hamstring. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the wonderfully weird world of fantasy football, go ahead and smash that like button like it's week 1 and your sleeper pick just dropped 30 points. And hey, subscribe to Tell Me Something Weird for more stories that blend mystery, madness, and just enough truth to make you question everything. We've got folklore, football, and the occasional UFO. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now go win your league. Or at least don't finish last. That unicorn costume isn't going to wear itself.